My family has had the same rule since I was only a little girl. Always move left to right. It sounds unusual to outsiders, but my 6 siblings and I have grown up to it being the norm. Whether it's taking steps left, right, or simply organizing my wardrobe from left to right. Whatever it was, my mother and father could never stress enough how important this rule was. There were men dressed in white shirts and green baseball caps wherever we went, even in the rooms of our house. They would watch us from the windows when we would play in our backyard or when we were eating family dinner. They would stand in the doorways and watch us eat our meals from left of our plates to right. These men never fazed me growing up with their plastic and shiny faces. Where their mouths should be, it was smooth plastic. Their face, nothing but a pair of eyes that impossibly never blinked. I don't know if anyone else could see them, but we never spoke a word about them. My oldest brother Otis asked once, but Mom brushed it off and asked what we wanted for dinner. I guess we just thought it was something unspoken in the household. Plus, we trusted our parents and obeyed any rule they gave. Anyway, it was pretty normal and for years became just another daily rule to live by. Left, right. But this morning, it became pretty damn clear to my family how important this rule was. We were out in the backyard playing one of our childish games. There was a man in the upstairs window watching down on us. Nothing unusual. We were skipping around in a circle and singing nursery rhymes. The morning was fairly dark and cloudy. It gave off an airy glow of grays penetrating through the trees surrounding the backyard, bouncing off the house like a black and white film. One more round before school. Dad held my hand with his left, then reached for Melissa's hand in his right. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. We skipped in the circle, smiles imprinted on all our faces. We all tumbled over and laughed in high-pitched yells. Last one inside is a rotten egg, Mila shouted before skipping towards the house. Left foot first, of course. Dad linked his arms in mine and we skipped towards the house. I watched both our feet. I always found it amusing watching us take the same steps. Left, right, left, right. But his steps didn't match mine. It was impossible. He must have stepped with his right foot first. Was he tricking me? I found it quite amusing, a stitch forming in my abdomen from laughing. Jen, what's so funny? I had to take a deep breath from all the laughter. Dad, you stepped with your right first, you silly goose. I'm telling Mom, you're in trouble. I fell into another fit of laughter and my siblings joined in. We all found it quite amusing, especially because of how strict my parents were on this rule. But Dad wasn't laughing. An impression of pure horror was tattooed onto his face, like he has just found out the worst news ever. We all stopped laughing and told Dad we can keep a secret. We won't tell Mom, don't worry. We promise. But if we keep this secret, can we get ice cream for dinner? Yes, please, Dad. We won't tell. We all giggled at our plan to blackmail him into letting us have ice cream. But his expression never changed. He slowly turned his gaze up to the top story window of the house. There was no longer a man staring at us. Slow and heavy steps came from the staircase inside. Doof, doof, doof. The sounds were robotic-like. The man from the window was now at the bottom of the steps. Another man appeared from the kitchen pantry, as well as one from the bushes outside. They all slowly stepped towards my father. Left, right. Dad, what's happening? Are we in trouble? My siblings and I all feared for our lives in that moment. Then, the plastic, mouthless man from the kitchen grabbed my dad's wrist with all his force. Dad shouted for all of us to run to our rooms. Don't come out until I tell you to. The plastic man from upstairs gripped Dad's mouth shut, and another used a brown sack to cover Dad's body. All of us children were shouting, crying for them to stop. The men showed no emotions while dragging the brown sack up to the back door and into the yard. Dad's body flailing around lifelessly, trying to escape the sack. Before any of us run upstairs, one of the men stopped. He stared at the 7 of us children, dead in the eyes. Then he clicked his fingers. Black. That's all I can remember from that morning. All any of us could remember from that morning. We all awoke sitting in a circle around the brown sack in the backyard. It seemed cult-like. It has to be around 6 or 7 p.m. in the afternoon, just in time for dinner. Mom yelled out the back door for us to come inside. We looked at each other questionably before almost in unison looking towards the house. I could hazily see the silhouette of Dad at the dinner table. Is that Dad? Maybe they let him go. Do you think he's okay? We all had questions. How did we all end up out here? None of us can remember anything since this morning. Once we all made it inside, we could see Dad seated at the dinner table, arms straight by his side. His mouth was covered with a bandage tightly wrapped around his head, and he had blood dripping down his neck. His forehead was shiny, almost like the plastic on the other men, but his eyes were shut. Maybe he was resting after this morning's incident? Make sure to wash your hands before dinner, children. Don't forget to wash the left hand before the right, Mom said with a smile on her face. It's late now. Maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. I'm huddled under the covers with Mila. Loud grunts continue, echoing throughout the house from the kitchen. Dad was still sitting at the dinner table. We had checked on him about an hour ago. The grunts were almost distorted, like the sounds were being made from the inside of his body. Maybe he couldn't move his mouth because of the bandage. I wanted to take the bandage off to hear what Dad had to say, but a part of me knew it wasn't just the bandage stopping him from speaking. I could hear all my siblings in the room silently whispering. None of us were going to sleep that night, especially not with the man standing in the doorway, keeping a closer eye on us more than usual. Remember to like and subscribe for more horror stories. Also, comment below or email us if you have a horror story you would like read here on Twilight Horror Stories.